If you want to make it with salvation and not be damned, and Elohim's wrath is falling, everybody got to make their choice. You have to get in line with truth. You have to accept learning truth. He had to take away the first. You have to have faith in his body death before you have faith in his blood. Elohim the Father required that the Son die in the place of mankind dying, taking away the first. The first covenant died with mankind dying. Before he could establish the second, his will, his blood of his testament come into force to be of power. So I have faith in the blood, believe in the blood, claim the blood. But you don't get these truths. You have no understanding of your position with Elohim being looked upon. Praise Elohim. Hebrews chapter 10. For the law having a shadow of good things to come. Hebrews chapter 10 going to go through and explaining he had to take away the first. The animal sacrifice could not take away man's sin. This is what this is explaining. So Father Elohim prepared his Supreme Spirit Son a body. A body has, in Hebrews chapter 10, verse 1. For the law having a shadow of good things to come and not the very image of the things, can never with those sacrifices which they offered year by year continually, could never make the comers thereunto perfect. Couldn't perfect them. Verse 2 says, for then would they not have ceased to be offered, because that the worshippers once purged from their sins should have no more conscience of sin, including the sin nature. Some of them died and plagued them dying. But in those sacrifices, there is a remembrance again made of sin every day of atonement, every year. Verse 4, for it is not possible that the blood of bulls and of goats should take away sins of men, referring to. It is not possible. Verse 5, wherefore when he cometh into the world, he said sacrifices and offerings, talking about animals, thou wouldest not. But a body hast thou prepared me. The Supreme Spirit Son took on him the sperm of Abraham. Elohim wasn't pleased, so a price had to be paid before, and he had to take away the first before he can give the second. That's what this finna go to. He had to take away first. All the animals and sacrifices, and the law was righteous, holy, and just. So it's gonna require a complete righteous substitution here, and one worthy to substitute, being the Son of God, the Creator of all things. Ain't nobody. Ain't no other man. It's going to go through showing taking away the first. Verse 5, wherefore he cometh, when he come, he said, into the world, he said, sacrifice and offerings, Holy Father, you wouldest not, but a body hast thou prepared me. And burnt offerings and sacrifice for sin thou hast had no pleasure. For you got to have faith in his body death accomplishment and taking and dying instead of mankind dying, and dying for the sins in the Old Testament, death for the redemption of the transgression under the First Testament. You keep on saying Jesus died my sin on the New Testament, and not separate the bread and the cup. And after you learn this, you can do that. Ain't no sin bring judgment, but open the door for judgment, as I explained. So you praise Elohim. Verse 7. Then said I, the Messiah, lo, I come. In the volume of the book, it is written of me to do thy will, O God. Burnt off and sacrifice, you ain't had no pleasure whatsoever in. It was a plan he be slain before the foundation of the world. Coming to man's sperm be conceived, that sperm be conceived, that the Supreme Spirit Son of God was going to birth to the world, a man-child conceived in Mary's womb, appointed in her reproductive cell. Birth into the world, a man-child grew up and he gave his life in the place of mankind. Above, when he says sacrifice and offerings and burnt offerings and offering for sin, thou wouldest not, neither hadst pleasure therein, which are offered by the law. Explaining, he had to deal with that. It was easy for heaven and earth to pass. Easier for heaven and earth to pass than for one jot until the law. Easier for heaven and earth to pass. So he had to fulfill what? Fulfill the penalty of the man. Yeah, well, her Gentiles. Verse 9. Then said he, Lo, I come to do thy will, O God. He taketh away the first. All the animal sacrifices, people sincerely wish to God for their sins to be forgiven. He had to die for those sins. He had to die for those sins. He had to die for those sins. He had to be, glory be to Elohim, suffer and die. Take away the sins on the first, and take away the sins on the first, and taking away the first, the Old Testament, that he may establish the second. Now, it haven't even got to his blood of fools. Yeah, but so you have to have faith in his body death accomplishments before you have faith in his blood being of power. So I got